Hi there, welcome to my lecture on if statements and logical expressions. So we'll probably split this up into multiple videos just so they're easy to digest. So first, let's go over what an if statement actually is. So in Java, you have in the vast majority of programming languages, you have three types of statements. You have your imperative statements, which are just these commands like system.out.println or declaring a variable. You've got your iterative statements, which you've learned one type of, which is the for loop. And then here you have your conditional statements, which we'll learn one of the types of, which is the if statement in Java. So the if statement basically contains a test. And it's much like the test in this for loop. For int I is equal to 0, I, let's make that 1, I is less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Okay, and if you remember, there's a test here, right? This tests if I, during the current loop, is less than or equal to 5, right? When we start, I will be equal to 1, then it'll be equal to 2, then it'll be equal to 3, then it'll be equal to 4, and then it'll be equal to 5. And then each time we tries the loop, right? Each time before we execute the code inside the loop, whatever it is, we're going to test. Is 1 less than or equal to 5? If it's true, we'll continue. If it's false, we won't execute it. Well, 1 is less than 5, less than or equal to 5, so we'll continue. So the if statement works in the same way. Given some expression, it will we'll test it, and if if that's true, then we'll execute the code in here. All right. So let's go ahead and try one. Int scanner dot, let's go with scanner keyboard equals to new scanner and got to import scanner, but we'll do int num is equal to keyboard dot next int if num is greater than 50. Print out that was a true statement. So let's go ahead. Oh, didn't give it a prompt, so it didn't pull up. So let's go with 5. Didn't do anything. Why? Because 5 is not greater than 50. So you can test this for yourself. We put in 60. It's going to print out that was a true statement. Let's go ahead and run it again. We put in 1. It's not going to print out anything. Let's go ahead and do system.out.println done, just so we get them, so we don't get the wrong idea. We continue. The program will keep going, even if this is false. It just skips whatever's in it if it's false. So now if I do 40 is not greater than the number. Than 50. Prints out done. Right? What if I change it around to make it the test 40 less than 50? So now I'll put in 40. Sorry, num less than 50. So if I put in 40 now, you get that was a true statement, and prints out done. So there's a bunch of different operations you can test. You got your typical less than or equal to. You got your greater than or equal to. You've got your less than, your greater than. Then you've got some other ones. So you've got double equals over here. Now this checks to see if two things are the same. You don't use one equal to check if two things are the same, because remember, equals the assignment statement. And this is one of the reasons I do like Java. In C, this would be an easy way to mess up your day, but Java prevents you from doing that. So here, it's only going to be true if you put in 50. So if I put in anything else, it skips it. And just like we have an equal, we can check to make sure that it's not equal to 50. So so long as I put in anything other than 50, it's going to be true. Well, any number. If I didn't put in a number, remember, it would crash. Okay, so every if also has an else attached to them. Happy feet. The hazards of recording from home. So here, I'm just putting that wrong in to show you that you can have more than one line in there. So now if I put 1, that was a true statement. But if I put in 50, it says that was a false statement. Wrong. Done. Okay. So we've got ourselves if-else statements. So what else can we do with our if-else statements? Well, let's go ahead and use it to write a very basic function. One that you're going to find really useful. It's going to bring together something we learned earlier. So public static Boolean, right? So we're going to return true or false with this, is even. So this is going to test if a particular number I pass in, a particular integer, x, is even. What we want this to do is that we want to use this as a way to check if a number is even or not. It's going to return true if it is, and false if it isn't. And this is something we couldn't do before, because we didn't know how to do that kind of test. So, if statement, we're going to figure out a way to test if it's even, and then we're going to apply that test on it. So, if x, well, greater than won't help us here, neither will less than, none of these operators will help over here. So let's think back to the arithmetic operators. If there's something we can do to x to see if it's even. Let's see. So can't really add something to this to tell if it's even, right? Nor can you really subtract something. Oh, well, you can, but then you'd have to test if the resulting number was even. So you're kind of in a circle there. Multiplying won't really tell you anything, and dividing won't tell you. So do we have anything else? We have the modulo operator. So if you remember, what does the modulo operator do? The modulo operator returns, if we go mod, say, 4, that will give us, if we do like int y is equal to x mod 4, y is going to be the remainder of x divided by 4. So if we had 16, it would be 0. If we had 15, it would be 3. But let's go back to that. If x is 16, mod 4, 0. 20 mod 4 would be 0. 24 mod 4 would be 0. So basically, anything that's cleanly divisible by 4, if we were to mod it by 4, we'd get 0. What about 2? Well, let's think about this for a second. If I were to do, remember, 2, like something like 41 mod 2, that would yield 1. Something like 42 mod 3 mod 2 would yield 0. In fact, any number, when it's modded by 2, if it's an even number, we're going to get 0, right? Because any number, if you mod it by 2, you're asking, what is the remainder after we divide it by 2? Well, if it's an even number, it's going to be 0. So we can use that test. If x mod 2 equals 0. So in other words, if mod, so if we take the number and mod it by 2, in other words, we ask what the remainder after dividing by 2 is, And if we test that, so that's going to result in only one of two numbers, 1 or 0. If that number is 0, well, then it's an even number. Return true. Else, return false. So now we can go down over here and say, enter a number. And what's cool is that we can use that method call inside of here. Is even. No. So that was even. Oops. So run it. So now enter a number. 4. That's even. Enter a number. We put in 7 over here. 7 gets fed into is even num. So 7 gets fed over here. X is 7 now. 7 mod 2, which is 1, is equal to 0. Return true. Well, it's not true, so we go to the else statement. We return false. And we print out done. Right. On the next video, we're going to talk about another application of this. We'll go over some of the slides and talk about how we can create if-else statements.